because of the way the media were reported on the incident. And I said it was wrong how they did it, how they posted the clip to make the perpetrator look like the victim when he wasn't. So thank you guys for all your support, as always. So there is like a big game of Chinese whispers that gets played on this app all the time, which is one thing I pointed out last night. Anyone that was here last night knows exactly what got said. You all know that the clips that were played by many of the creators were cropped down versions of what got said, and the important parts, which was raising awareness, were clipped out. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. So firstly, obviously, I'm going to start by apologising that if anything I said at the beginning of the video did upset anyone. That wasn't my intention. I wasn't trying to hurt any feelings or mock what happened in Liverpool. That was never my intention. My intention was to, the clips were wrong, total accountability, yes. So my intention was to show you all how you see one small section of something and it's so easy to run with another narrative. And what I was saying was a representation of what everybody had commented on the video. Now, I want to make one thing clear. There was nobody in on this with me. It wasn't some setup to get everyone talking like they all think. No one was in on it with me. Zia was shocked. Like, even she was took back and I had to text her. And I've got the text, so I said, sorry if I gave you a heart attack by saying that. And Chelsea did not tell me to do anything. She had no input on any of this. And I did obviously speak to her this morning about it and explained everything. So, exactly, it's not something I would usually say, no. That's not my kind of narrative to run. I don't mock things like that. I wouldn't. So a national, is it? Yeah, I could say a national tragedy, really, isn't it? Yeah, I do think that's why I need to hold my hands up, Northern Star. I do think using that clip as a way to prove a point was completely wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I should have used a different clip. I think there was probably other situations I could have used, but it's kind of maybe not gone how I thought it would. I think it would go more. I think in my head, I thought that it would have gone more kind of seeing the point I was trying to make rather from what I said. But that obviously went straight over everyone's head. Only the people that were here last night knew exactly what the point I was making because they stayed and listened and they said, I get it now. I was shocked when that came out of your mouth because you would never say anything like that. So the point I was making, when I played the clip, I had been in bed ill all day. Obviously, I heard about what had happened. I'd not seen everything ins and out, and I didn't know at that point there was children involved that got injured. I 100% would not have used... Well, to be fair, I shouldn't have used that incident whatsoever to make my point to everybody. So I'll hold my hands up there and I apologise to anyone that was affected by what I said, obviously. Which is obviously why I said that. When I made the comment saying if my so I had an emergency, I had to get somewhere for my children, I would do the same. I didn't mean I would mow down children. That's not what I meant when I said that. I meant you bet if I was trying to get somewhere, and I use, for the example, when there was the Stop Oil protests, and there was women outraged because they're trying to get the kids to hospital and they were literally driving over the protesters. And that was the part that I was trying to get at. So obviously that message didn't come across. Maybe I didn't explain it correctly. So I'll hold my hands up there and say I didn't explain that as well as I should have done. The point I was trying to make was that the clip I saw, if that was the only clip I saw, I would have read the comments. Every comment in there was trying to make the man behind that wheel a victim when he wasn't a victim. He deserves to be behind bars. He deserves the worst for what he did. 100%. And I said that last night, but obviously that bit was clipped out. I also said that the if you hadn't seen the rest of it, and I slated the Daily Mail for about 20 minutes, that wasn't in the clips either, where I said the Daily Mail, the media, of all the reasons why it causes divides between people in this country and causes issues, because now they've spun that, posted that clip. People, they've not stated whether it was before or after, which we all know it was after. Because they didn't state that, people in the comments on the Daily Mail were saying that there was, that the man was obviously scared, everything else, all sorts of stuff like that they were saying. And that's why I ran with that narrative to start with, because that's what people were saying. Now, I know that wasn't what happened, and I probably shouldn't have used it the way I did. But I was proving a point that the issues on here is that people will say something without any proof of it. They've just seen one small clipped part, and then they will then run with it. Chinese whispers start in the comments on people's lives. Everything I've said's been twisted completely. And then they will then make their own narrative of how they interpret it rather than how it was actually said. And that's not me justifying what I did at all. I hold my hands up completely and say that I was in the wrong for what I did and I shouldn't have done it. But the problem here now is that rather than to be focused on the issue here, which I've slated the media so much for what they do, the way they spin narratives and change everything, they try to, I get they have to obviously say impartial, but to me, that's why I said none of us have been there. None of us that were in my live last night were there. None of us knew the ins and outs, and that the police would obviously update us on what happened when they know in due course. Yeah, exactly, Northern Star. Yeah, so there was like the irony of what obviously happened with Torian. Then Torian had said, keep your name out of my mouth.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
Thank you, Lorraine. Torian said, keep my name out of your mouth. But that was an example of how it happens. She said that something happened. There's no evidence of it happening. And then everyone's ran with it. And now they're all saying it to justify another bad thing that's happened that shouldn't have happened as an excuse for it. So I think maybe my point was completely invalid. I'll hold my hands up there and say my point was completely invalid and I should have used maybe a TikTok scenario. But it's hard to use a TikTok scenario to
get in, loser, we're
justify
going shopping.
Something. Because thank you, to justify something. Oh yeah, Corey is vile, yes. They do know what I meant. Corey knows me well enough to know what I meant, 100%. But they like to... Yeah, is it selective clips that people show? So it's a shame I did get banned. I don't know if the Observer will have the full live on their YouTube. But I did get banned, so it is... I would have just downloaded the live and then replayed it all from start to finish of what it was that I said, but I did get banned, so I can't. But to say that I mocked it when I didn't, and if it came across like that, I wholeheartedly apologise, because that wasn't my intention to mock any situation like that. And I think for them to twist the situation, I apologised last night straight afterwards when I realised that people were getting upset by it. And I said, look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. And I explained this last night as well. But obviously there was, I think maybe 450 people in, because I'd just been banned with their account and then I'd gone live on that one. I'd been live for all of 10 minutes. Yes, I did. This is my point that I'm proving now. So clip pages need to either post the whole thing or nothing at all. Because it's not just me this has happened to. It happens to many other creators as well. Like, look, when Angie was mocking what happened in Hillsborough. I've got a clip of her tonight of her saying it was all clipped down, which is exactly my point I was making. And that's not me defending Angie whatsoever. But that is what happens. They will play parts of it and make it and then put them all together and make them look worse than it is. So, yeah, that's what I believe happened. That's what many people believe happened that were in the live last night, how it was clipped down to look like it was worse than it was. And I'm not saying it wasn't bad, because it was still bad. And I hold my hands up once again and say it once again, and I'll say it a million times over tonight if I need to, that I should not have used that clip as a way to make a point especially with it being so raw and just happening. But even then, yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. But the thing is, we can't talk about what Angie's done in the past anyway, because if we keep talking about Angie's done in the past, they'll say I'm deflecting. But does the Observer not have it on? It might be because it was on my other account. It wasn't on this one. It was on my other account. So I don't know if she records ones on that one. But yeah. So in these situations, there is no winning. You will always look like the bad person to these people, and that's what they want you to look like. And I'm not going to take I'm not going to listen to Rickster's moral high ground after all he's done, and many other creators on here after all they've done. And I'm definitely not going to come off TikTok just because they think I should. At the end of the day, this is my income. This is how I feed my children, all my animals. So that's why I do it. Do I really? No, I don't think they would have done, Alicia. That's the problem, I think. Because they made comments on me speaking on it and playing the one clip that Daily Mail put on TikTok. Not me. I didn't take it off another website and put it on. It was on TikTok. It is to start a hate campaign against me, and they can do that. If that's what they want to do, they can do that. That's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep and cry over it. I've been through much worse on this app. And to me, I will take full accountability like I have in the past. I've made mistakes in the past and said things, not repeat offended on that same situation. I've learnt my lesson from it, not done it again. So normally we would talk about things that happen in the news on my show. We've done it many times. So going forward, we won't discuss the news whatsoever. So unfortunately, because you can't, if it's going to upset somebody, it's not
Get in,
something.
loser, we're going shopping.
It's not something I'm going to risk doing, because it's not like this is the one time I've ever played a clip from the news. I play clips from the news every single week. I have many clips saved that are from the Sun, Daily Mail, things like that. Celebrity gossip, all sorts of stuff, affairs they're all having. We did loads on the Kardashians, things like that in the past. So from now on, I'm just not going to talk on anything. Exactly, Connor, yeah. So I'm not going to talk on anything that's off TikTok anymore. So unfortunately, if there is anything that you want awareness brought to or anything like that, it's going to have to be another creator who's absolutely perfect and does nothing wrong. It'll have to be them that does it for you, because unfortunately that won't be me now. But I just don't appreciate the game of Chinese whispers that's played on this app all the time, and spreading misinformation is probably the word for it, on what got said and what didn't get said. Because if you weren't in the live last night, you don't know the whole ins and outs of how it played out. So poorly, guys. But yeah, I know I do think, obviously, Luke's entitled to his opinion of me. If he wants to hold a live for, how long was it, 52 minutes, just talking about me and saying nasty things about me, that's fine. Luke has gone at different women every day this week and insulted their appearance, and it screams insecure to me. So I will never, ever feel any sympathy for him when something happens to him. Because, you know, I did for Chippy. After Chippy wasn't very nice to me, I still felt sorry for him the other day and messaged him to make sure he was okay. But I think one thing that did, I think, shock me a lot was when Angie had said she's never mocked a real life situation. There are many creators on here that mock real life situations that are going on off TikTok every single day. Angie has mocked the victims of Jimmy Savile. She has mocked Zia's son, who's no longer here. She mocked the Hillsborough disaster. She has mocked her own father. She's done with her what she's done with her dog, or real life people not on the app. She mocked only less than a week ago On Saturday night, she mocked Frankie and Amy's infertility, which is a massive issue for Frankie and Amy. It's put them through a lot of heartache over the years. And I actually received a lovely message off them saying that I was probably one of the only people that said something so kind to them about it. Because to me, you're mocking a woman's infertility. That is a real life situation that you're mocking. But just because it's not affected hundreds of people, you don't see the issue with it. And there's no outrage for it. So all I'm going to ask now from everyone is to be outraged with everything that is said on this app. Because that's what should be happening. You know, when Corey's telling people to go unalive themselves, telling people to do the most worst things to each other, these are the people that should be held accountable for everything they say. Because that's real life as well. Because you've got to think as well, how would he feel if that person did do it? He said that I apparently told my ex to do it. Never did. Because he's a compulsive liar. But you, Corey, tell everyone to do that every day. Every single day. You tell people to do that. You also mocked saying Levi would touch my children. So that is you mocking Child SA. So that's a real life situation you've mocked. So make sure your own shit don't stink. No, they don't mention that. Do you know what the worst part was? Is that Luke said, oh no, Corey wouldn't do that. And then Corey admitted in his chat that he did. And he went all quiet then, didn't say anything. Corey mocked Grape only this morning. So if we're going to have this energy, we have it for everybody from now on. Because the thing is, they're only outraged because it came out of my mouth. If it had come out of Angie's or come out of Corey's, they'd all be justifying each other. And they'd all be saying, oh, it's all right, it's only Angie, she's drunk, she don't mean it, and it'll all be forgotten about the next day. What I did was used a real life situation, which I shouldn't have done, and I hold my hands up to it, to make a valid point to you all about how you all twist everything. Oh, Corey said I wasn't alive tonight. Oh, your wishes. Corey, you're not getting rid of me that quickly. What she said. Yeah. See, I don't like all that. It's all the same. Do you know what? Like, where I stand, I think that a lot on this app, people will always go lower. They always will. And all you can do, and I tell other creators this all the time, is that you have to show that you aren't bothered. And I learnt that from the best as well, because many other creators and other people on this app have told me the exact same thing, to behave like that. And now I'm using it against them, Corey. So, and the voice note he started playing with Luke, planning with Rickster to knock EQ's dog. Yeah, but we don't know that, do we, Liana? That's the thing. Because I don't know how Corey would get hold of that, because that would be between Luke and Rickster. It wouldn't be between Corey and Luke. Yeah, but you've got to remember as well that Corey's a compulsive liar. He doesn't know his arse from his elbow most days. But no, I am apologising. Obviously, it's not something I would usually do, but I just tried to make a point and it just wasn't made the way it should have been made. It was probably a very distasteful thing to do. I'll hold my hands up to that. Thank you, Jem. But yeah, I just think that it's all going a bit too far now. There's a lot of Chinese whispers being played. Someone's going into this live saying that. It's all being said that Levi said it should have been a tractor. Levi did not say that. There was hundreds in Levi's live. Not one of them said he said that. They all said, no, he didn't say that. It was twisted and manipulated to once again make us look like the bad people. But if I was on the click side and all best friends with them, they wouldn't be saying that. They'd be defending me. And for some reason, everything always comes back on Chelsea, and it's nothing to do with Chelsea. No one was in on it. There was no plan saying, I'm going to outrage the app doing this. It wasn't. Yeah, I think just because me and Levi used to be in a relationship, they think that it means we share the same thoughts, we agree with everything, which isn't the case. We do call each other out multiple times on things each other say, and I would be the first one to call Levi out if he said that. I was in his live at the time. That never got said. But obviously one person goes in one person's chat and says it, and then everybody starts saying it. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Oh, their Discords are all just as bad as well. I'm in all their Discords and I see everything that they all put. I'm in Corey's, I'm in Angie's, I'm in Luke and Red's. I see everything they all put. And you know, if Levi had said that, and that would have been mocking the disaster and saying such a horrible comment like that, I would have been the first one in that. I was in the box, I would have been the first one to unmute and kick off and say something to him, because that's the kind of person I am. I've called Levi out multiple times on this app for things he said and done. And I will continue to do it when he does something. But Levi didn't say that. So I think the people that are trying to run saying it and twisting the narrative and how things were worded when it wasn't said is crazy. Exactly, Jodie. And there's not. No, Levi's not a horrible person. He doesn't say things in malice like that. That's the crazy part of it all. If anything, I'm the one that would be most likely to say that, and I still wouldn't say that. That's more likely to come out of someone like Corey's mouth. It wouldn't come out of Levi's mouth. He's not like that. Yeah, they said we were laughing. We weren't laughing. No one was laughing at the disaster. And no, EQ has had my back all day, bless her. I really appreciate her for doing that. She didn't have to do that. She's more than welcome to drag me. I've told her many times, just drag me. But she knows that I'm not that kind of person. Yeah, he does hardly read the chat. But, you know, if he'd have said something so outrageous like that, his whole chat would have been kicking off. There were hundreds of people in there. There would have been outrage. Yeah, I was just muted washing the dishes, just listening and just putting the shopping away because I'd just come back from Morrison's. Exactly. Do you really think people who support Levi would have enabled that? Because I would have called out his supporters as well for allowing that comment if it had been said. Because that's disgusting for someone to say that. Rickster always runs with fake evidence though, doesn't he? He never runs with facts. Bless him. No, Levi didn't admit it. That's not what Levi said. So this is once again you twisting what was said. Well, yeah, she did. She said Hillsborough didn't happen, but we forget about that. So I think for people to target Levi when he's not living there alone, there is a woman and a child there as well, is quite sick, really. But
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
Thank you, Evil Lou. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because obviously a lot of you weren't here last night when everything was said, which is why my own mods were shocked with what came out of my mouth at first. And then I'd said, look, this is disgusting how the media have put this out like this, because look how I've just reacted then. That's how every comment in that video reacted. And I don't feel that way. And I stated that multiple times last night. I don't think that. But obviously it was clipped down to make it look like I did. Thank you, David. Oh, hi, Corey and Angie. And I say a lot of things in jest when I was sat in Levi's box today. Nothing about the disaster, just in jest. And everything just gets taken so seriously on this app. And I think, like, this just needs to be a better place. And I hope maybe this is the wake-up call that creators need themselves to stop just being so derogatory towards everybody. Stop making nasty comments about women day in, day out. Stop telling people to do the most vile things to themselves, Corey. Angie, stop getting drunk and making a fool of yourself and saying awful things that you can never take back. Just let this be a warning for you all that, like, this is what happens and this is the reality of it. And, you know, one day, it doesn't take long for everyone to turn on you. And unfortunately, that day is not my day today that you guys are dying to see more than ever. That's not going to happen. Thank you, Dee. Because I think to start a hate campaign against somebody for making a point of their actions and their own behaviours is just proving exactly what I said was right. Exactly. If the app does continue the way it is, there will be tragic consequences. And what are you going to do, Corey, when you tell another creator to take their own life? What are you going to do and feel when that actually happens? Because you wouldn't be able to proudly sit on here smiling away, doing your FYP like nothing happened. Because you do not think everyone would boycott you. Exactly, everyone makes mistakes. And I'm quite a forgiving person. You know, I forgave EQ after the narrative she tried to spin on me. Thank you, Donna. The narrative she tried to spin on me about my ex-partner because she was sent false information. I debunked it all the next night with all the facts on what actually happened. She never mentioned it again. I forgave her. But the other issue here was that Angie, Rickster, Corey all continue to say the same thing that they were all slating EQ for doing, which shows how hypocritical they all are. Yeah, we do. We learn from mistakes. They are. It's very snaky. I think for Corey to say, what did he say? He said the reason I didn't, he said he pretended to fall out with Luke, which just shows you how much goes on behind the scenes when they're pretending to fall out, pretending to hate each other just to try get on someone else's good side. Oh, that would never be me. Thank you, Donna, darling. It would never be me. It's like drama, play school stuff. I'd expect that from a 10-year-old. And that's just not my style. Sometimes people do things that are completely unforgivable. And that's... Yeah, Luke does. He holds hate lives against women. He said I had STIs. He said turn my filter off and that I've got STIs. And then apologised the next day when he got called out for it. But then continued to do the same thing again with other women. Keeps calling EQ easy when she's not easy. She's quite clearly not easy. And then went for Rosie, said she needs to turn her filters off and said that something about needing, I can't remember exactly what he said. Was it something about needing attention? Something like that, I don't know. It's insane. And all these people are trying to do is fight their corner and prove their point. And me as a woman will always stand with the women in these situations. So, and I think any women who can support that and support that behaviour from a man, I think you need to question your own ethics and, you know, if you think that's right behaviour to do that to women and put women down. Us women, we have it hard enough as it is. Let's be real. Luke's filter glitches me out with horses. And do you know what? You know, I think it's lovely what Luke does with his horses. I think it's really nice. Thank you, Donna. That's the only positive thing I can say about him. And that's only because I'm an animal lover that I'll say that. I think there's many creators. And I think Corey needs to be more worried about all the solicitors after him rather than what I'm saying and doing. I do think Luke rides a Shetland pony, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't do battles. I don't do any of that. I don't sit here and tell people you have to gift me this much or that much for me to start my show. I don't ask for anything like that. I don't say I'm muting you and blocking you if you've not sent a heart me. I don't expect this app's for free. You downloaded this app for free. I'm not then going to make you I'm not going to charge you to watch me. I'm not that kind of person. But I think this is why I said last night as well, which was one thing I said, was that as soon when they're arguing about these serious issues, which I don't think they should be arguing about publicly anyway, the second they press that battle button is when they both lost the argument to me. Because I cannot feel sympathy for someone who is so deeply hurt by what someone said, but then they're sitting battling them to make money off them. The second you do that, you've lost all my sympathy and your argument's gone. And I will continue to say that. I've never been in that position and I never will be in that position. They are very rotten to the core, yes. Anyway, I want to show you an FYP clip. It's my ex-boyfriend getting tomatoed on stage, so can we watch that? Because I think I've apologised a lot. If you want me to,
we're going shopping.
and if you want me to apologise again tomorrow, I will. If you want me to do it again in a month, I will. If you need me to do that, I don't mind. Thank you, Randall's darling.